Whoa, did you see this trade?
Yeah,
Diontae Johnson
I know, right?
is back in the AFC North.
Back in the AFC North.
But this time, he's sporting a Baltimore Ravens uniform.
Yeah. Wow.
Talk about a plot twist. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
What do you think about this move?
Well, it's definitely a head scratcher at first glance,
Right.
especially, considering he was just traded from the Steelers
Yeah.
to the Panthers earlier this year. But when we dig into the details,
Okay.
there's a lot to unpack here in terms of, the team strategies,
Yeah.
what this means for the players involved,
Yeah.
especially for those of us who love fantasy football.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Okay.
I've got a stack of articles to help us navigate this trade.
Okay.
Dave Richards' fantasy football trade chart and rest of season rankings from CBS Sports.
Mhm.
Matt Harmon's analysis on Yahoo Sports,
Uh-huh.
which dives into the fantasy fallout,
Okay.
and a piece from Steelers. Now that gives us the Steelers perspective.
Yeah, so those sources give us a great 360-degree view.
Yeah.
So let's start with the basics. Johnson is heading from Carolina to Baltimore,
Okay.
and the Panthers are getting a 2025 fifth-round pick in return.
Yeah.
The Ravens are sending a 2025 sixth-round pick back to Carolina along with Johnson.
Okay, so on the surface, it looks like the Ravens are getting the better end of the deal, right?
Well, that's what Dave Richards' fantasy football trade chart seems to suggest.
Okay.
He values Johnson at 9 points
Okay.
in both PPR and non-PPR leagues.
Okay.
Now, for those who might not be familiar with those acronyms,
Yeah.
PPR stands for points per reception,
Right.
and in those leagues, players get points for every catch they make.
Yeah.
Non-PPR leagues only award points for touchdowns and yardage.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So 9-point value, what does that actually mean in terms of trade value?
So it means Johnson is a valuable asset.
Okay.
To put it in perspective, that's more than double the value of a typical fifth-round pick. It's like trading a shiny new sports car for a
Yeah.
used bicycle,
Yeah.
The one with the banana seat?
Yeah. That's quite a disparity. So it seems like the Ravens got a steal here, especially considering how Johnson's been performing this season.
Exactly. He's already racked up 30 catches for 357 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
In just 7 games.
Yeah.
Those are respectable numbers, especially when you consider that he's been playing with quarterbacks who haven't exactly set the league on fire.
Yeah, playing with a struggling quarterback can really impact a receiver's stats.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder how much better he could be with a more consistent offense.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the Ravens.
Okay.
I mean, they're already a pretty strong team, aren't they?
They are.
Yeah.
Matt Harmon, in his analysis on Yahoo Sports, points out that the Ravens are a top-tier team in terms of offensive efficiency.
Okay.
They rank high in EPA per play and success rate.
Got it.
EPA stands for expected points added, and it basically measures how much a play contributes to a team's likelihood of scoring.
Okay.
A high EPA per play means the Ravens are consistently making plays
Right.
that put them in a good position to score.
Okay, so they're efficient.
Right.
But they already have some pretty talented receivers on their roster,
Right.
like Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about their tight end duo,
Right.
Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely.
Yeah.
Where does Johnson even fit into this already stacked offense?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
While the Ravens have a talented receiving core, none of those players have been consistently getting a huge target share.
Yeah.
Harmon argues that Johnson brings a unique skill set to the table that
Okay.
the Ravens have been lacking.
Okay.
Elite separation skills,
Hold on.
especially when facing man-to-man coverage.
Hold on. Elite separation skills.
Mhm.
That sounds impressive, but break that down for me. What makes his separation skills elite?
So think of it this way. Good route running is like a perfectly choreographed dance.
Yeah.
The receiver is trying to shake off the defender and create space to catch the ball.
Yeah.
And Johnson excels at this.
Okay.
He's known for his crisp route running,
Okay.
his ability to change direction quickly,
Got it.
and his knack for finding soft spots in coverage.
So,
Basically, he knows how to get open,
okay.
and that's a valuable asset for any quarterback.
Okay, so he's a master of creating space.
Yeah.
But why is that particularly important for the Ravens?
So Harmon highlights that the Ravens often face cover one defense,
Okay.
where one defender is responsible for covering the receiver one-on-one.
Yeah.
This is where Johnson's elite separation skills become a major weapon.
Got it.
If he can consistently create space against his defender,
Yeah.
it makes life much easier for Lamar Jackson.
It sounds like the Ravens saw a need, and Johnson was the perfect player to fill that need.
Precisely.
Okay.
Harmon ultimately concludes that the trade is a win for the Ravens.
Yeah.
But he does predict that Johnson's arrival will likely decrease the target share for the other receivers.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
There's only one ball to go around.
Right.
And with another talented receiver in the mix, there are bound to be fewer targets to spread around.
Mm-hmm.
So potential boosts for the Ravens, but maybe a little less action for Flowers and Bateman?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's a trade-off that the Ravens are likely willing to make, especially if it means they can make a deeper run in the playoffs.
So while the Ravens seem poised to benefit from this trade, the situation in Carolina is a bit more uncertain.
Right.
Let's examine how Johnson's departure might impact their young receivers.
Right.
What do our sources have to say about the Panthers' perspective?
So both Matt Harmon's article on Yahoo Sports
Yeah.
and the piece from Steelers now agree that the Panthers' offense has been struggling this season.
Okay.
Their EPA per play is among the lowest in the league,
Right.
suggesting that they're not consistently moving the ball effectively.
Well, if they're struggling on offense,
Right.
why would they trade away one of their most reliable receivers?
Yeah.
Especially for what seems like such a small return.
It's a valid question,
Yeah.
and it's one that has a lot of analysts scratching their heads.
Yeah, it's almost like they're intentionally weakening their offense.
It certainly appears that way on the surface.
Yeah.
But perhaps there's a method to their madness.
Okay.
With Johnson gone, the spotlight now falls on their rookie receivers.
Okay.
Xavier Legette and Jalen Coker.
Interesting. So maybe this trade is less about the present and more about the future.
That's a plausible explanation.
Okay.
The Panthers might be looking to give their younger receivers a chance to develop and see what they have in them. It's like they hit the reset button on their receiving core.
Yeah.
And Steelers now even mentions David Moore
Oh, okay.
as another player who could see an uptick in targets now that Johnson's gone.
Wait, David Moore?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah.
Didn't he play for the Seahawks a few years back?
That's the one. He bounced around a few teams and landed with the Panthers this year.
Okay.
He actually has a bit of history with the Panthers' offensive coordinator
Oh,
from their time together in Seattle and Tampa Bay.
interesting.
Yeah.
So he could be a familiar face for the coaching staff.
Right.
Maybe a reliable target for their quarterback.
Right.
But let's focus on those rookies for a second.
Okay.
What can you tell me about Legette and Coker?
Yeah.
Are they worth keeping an eye on?
Yeah.
Especially for those of us who are always looking for hidden gems in fantasy football.
Absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, Matt Harmon was pretty high on Legette in his Yahoo Sports article.
Okay.
He pointed out that the Panthers have been scheming plays specifically for him, trying to get him involved in the offense early on.
Okay.
They're clearly invested in his development.
So what's the scouting report on Legette? What are his strengths?
He's got a great combination of size and speed
Okay.
that makes him a tough matchup for defenders. Think of him as a big-bodied receiver who can stretch the field and make those contested catches.
Oh, okay.
He's still raw, but the potential is definitely there.
He sounds like a classic boomer bust type of player in fantasy.
Yeah.
High risk, high reward.
Exactly.
Right.
If he can put it all together, he could be a fantasy star in the making,
Yeah.
but there are also those growing pains to consider.
Got it.
Yeah.
So Legette is the big play threat, the guy who could win you your fantasy matchup with one long touchdown.
Right.
What about Coker? What's his game like?
Coker is more of a technician.
Okay.
He's known for his precise route running and his understanding of zone coverage.
Yeah.
Which is impressive for a rookie.
Okay.
He's primarily operated from the slot, which means he lines up closer to the offensive line rather than out wide.
Okay, so he's the shifty slot receiver, the guy who can find those open spaces in the middle of the field.
Precisely.
Okay.
And with Johnson out of the picture, that slot role could become even more prominent for Coker.
So we've got two potential breakout candidates in Legette and Coker.
Right.
And then there's David Moore, the veteran, with familiarity with the coaching staff.
Right.
It seems like the Panthers have a lot of options to fill the void left by Johnson.
Right.
But do they have enough talent?
That remains to be seen.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a mystery how these guys will actually perform with increased opportunities.
Okay.
But that's what makes this situation so intriguing.
Yeah.
Especially in dynasty fantasy football leagues.
Wait, hold on. Dynasty leagues.
Yeah.
You've mentioned that a couple of times.
Yeah.
Can you explain what those are for our listeners who might not be familiar with fantasy football lingo?
Of course.
Okay.
Dynasty leagues are like the long game of fantasy football.
Okay.
Instead of drafting a new team every year,
Yeah.
you keep your players from season to season.
Got it.
It's all about building a team for the long haul, investing in young players with high potential, and watching them develop.
So, in dynasty leagues, these young receivers for the Panthers become even more valuable because their potential upside could pay off for years to come.
Exactly.
Got it.
If you're looking for those long-term assets,
Yeah.
who could become cornerstones of your fantasy dynasty?
Oh, okay.
Players like Leggett and Coker become really intriguing.
Okay, so we've covered the potential impact on the Ravens and Panthers receiving core,
Right.
but there's one piece of this puzzle that we haven't quite figured out yet.
Yeah.
The Panthers are clearly shaking things up, but why?
Right.
I mean, they didn't get much in return for Johnson.
Right.
It seems like they could have gotten more value if they had waited until the offseason to trade him.
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why would the Panthers make this trade now?
Yeah.
And for such a seemingly small return?
It's baffling.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they're tanking for a better draft pick.
Tanking?
Yeah.
Do you think they're intentionally trying to lose games?
Well, it wouldn't be the first time a team has employed that strategy. But you're right. It seems unlikely that they go that route.
Yeah.
Especially with a new head coach and a quarterback they drafted first overall.
Yeah. It doesn't make much sense from that angle.
Right.
We need to look deeper.
Maybe there's something else at play here.
Okay.
Maybe it's not just about giving those young receivers a chance to shine.
Right.
Maybe it's a sign of something bigger,
Okay.
a more fundamental shift in the Panthers' approach.
Now you're talking.
Okay.
What if this trade is a signal that they're embracing a complete rebuild?
A rebuild. I like where this is going.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Think about it.
Okay.
They brought in a new head coach this season.
Okay.
They drafted a quarterback first overall.
Right?
And now they've traded away their most established receiver for practically nothing.
Right.
Those are bold moves.
Yeah.
And they suggest that the Panthers are looking to build something entirely new.
Okay.
Something different from what they had before.
Okay, so maybe this trade isn't just about player evaluation or salary cap management.
Yep.
Maybe it's about changing the culture,
Yeah,
creating a new identity for the team.
exactly.
Yeah.
They might be moving away from a reliance on individual star players like Johnson
Okay.
and towards a more team-oriented approach
Okay.
where the focus is on developing a cohesive unit
Yeah.
rather than relying on one or two big names.
It's like they're saying, we're not going to try to win with a patchwork roster anymore.
Right,
We're going to build from the ground up,
right.
develop our young players,
Exactly.
and create a sustainable winning culture.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And this trade could be the first step in that process.
Okay.
By trading Johnson, they're creating opportunities for younger players.
Yeah.
They're clearing cap space to make moves in the future.
Right.
And they're sending a message to the rest of the league that they're not afraid to make bold decisions.
Wow, this is getting really interesting.
Yeah.
It's like we're piecing together a puzzle,
Right.
and this trade is just one piece of a much larger picture.
And it's a picture that could take years to fully develop.
Yeah.
But one thing's for sure. This trade has major implications for both the Ravens and the Panthers.
We've talked a lot about the potential impact on the players involved, particularly those young receivers in Carolina.
Right.
But let's not forget about the teams themselves.
Yeah.
This trade could have a significant impact on their futures.
Right.
For the Ravens, it could be the missing piece they need to make a Super Bowl run.
Exactly. They're already a strong team.
Yeah.
And adding a proven talent like Johnson could put them over the top.
But for the Panthers, it could be the beginning of a long and potentially painful rebuild.
Or it could be the catalyst for a new era of success,
Yeah.
built on a foundation of young talent and a fresh approach.
Yeah.
It's impossible to say for sure at this point,
Right.
but it's going to be fascinating to watch how it all unfolds.
So to our listener, we've explored the ins and outs of this Diontae Johnson trade.
Yeah.
From the initial shock to the potential ripple effects on both teams.
Yep.
We've talked about fantasy implications,
Right.
team strategies,
Yeah.
and even a potential culture shift in Carolina.
All right.
But here's a final thought to ponder.
Okay.
Something that builds on all this analysis,
Okay.
but takes it a step further.
Yeah.
Imagine this trade as a catalyst,
All right.
not just for these two teams,
Okay.
but for the entire landscape of the NFL.
Intriguing. I'm all ears.
What if this trade is a sign of things to come?
Yeah.
A harbinger of a new era in the NFL where teams are more willing to make bold moves,
Right.
embrace youth,
Yeah.
and prioritize long-term vision over immediate gratification.
Okay.
Could this be the start of a trend?
It's certainly a possibility.
Yeah.
We've already seen teams like the Rams adopt an all-in approach. sacrificing future draft picks for established stars to chase a championship.
Yeah.
Maybe this trade signals a counter movement, a shift towards building through the draft, developing young talent, and creating a sustainable model for success.
That would be a major shift in thinking.
Yeah.
But it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility.
Right.
The NFL is constantly evolving.
Right.
And this trade could be a sign that teams are starting to think differently about how they build their rosters.
It's like a pendulum swinging back and forth.
Yeah.
We might be witnessing a shift away from the win-now mentality and towards a more patient, long-term approach.
Okay.
And if that's the case, it could have a profound impact on the league for years to come.
Imagine a league where teams are more focused on developing homegrown talent,
Right.
where the draft becomes even more important,
Yeah.
and where young players have more opportunities to shine early in their careers.
Yeah.
It would be a very different NFL,
Yeah.
but it could be an exciting one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It would create more parity, more uncertainty, and more opportunities for unexpected teams to rise to the top.
Right.
It would be a league where anything is possible.
Yeah.
Where the future is wide open.
So as you continue to follow the NFL this season, pay attention to those underlying trends, those subtle shifts in team-building philosophies.
Yeah.
This Diontae Johnson trade might be just a ripple in the pond,
Right.
but it could be a ripple that eventually creates a wave of change across the entire league.
And that's what makes the NFL so captivating.
Yeah.
It's a constantly evolving story full of twists and turns, surprises and disappointments.
Right.
And as analysts, as fans, it's our job to decipher those narratives, to understand the forces at play,
Yeah.
and to appreciate the beauty of the game in all its complexity.
Well said.
Thanks.
We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into the Diontae Johnson trade.
Yeah.
Remember, it's not just about the players involved or the immediate impact on the teams.
Right.
It's about understanding the bigger picture, the underlying trends, and the potential ripple effects that could shape the future of the NFL.
Exactly.
So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.
Absolutely.